John's Gospel was written somewhere around the year 75 to 100 in the Common Era. That is, 75 to 100 years after the birth of Christ and 40 to 65 years after his death. It was written after the other three Gospels were written, and it is sometimes simply called the fourth Gospel. This Gospel relates events that are unique and are not found in the works of Matthew, Mark, or Luke. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the Synoptic Gospels because they offer similar and parallel narratives about the ministry of Jesus. They tell us what Jesus did. But John goes beyond that narrative to explain to us who Jesus was. He explores the mystery and very nature of the person of Jesus. In the Gospel of John, we see the progression, the becoming of Jesus, the Christ, the Son of God. In chapter 1 of his narrative, John lays it out for us. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. In today's reading, it is a warm, dusty day, and Jesus and his friends are headed north from Jerusalem to Galilee. The road takes them through the region called Samaria, and they come to the city of Sychar. They stop at an ancient well there, reputed to have been dug by the patriarch Jacob. And since it's about noon, Jesus' disciples go off to the market to buy food, leaving him in the shade by the well. A woman comes to the well to draw water. We should first remind ourselves that the Samaritans and Jews are lifelong enemies. They believe in the same God, but they have strong differences of opinion about sacred writings, methods of worship, and holy places. Their conflict goes back centuries, and it's a point of honor for one side to be constantly finding fault with the other. Think about Shiites and Sunnis, the Catholics and Protestants of Northern Ireland, or the Hatfields and McCoys. Such divisions and hard feelings are not unknown to us in the present day. To an Orthodox Jew, even talking to a Samaritan was an unclean act, which would require ritual cleansing. Additionally, Jewish men were not to address a woman they did not know. To do so was a violation of all the social norms. The woman sees the man sitting in the shade. She knows him by his clothes and looks to be a Jew passing through. Of course, a Jewish man would never acknowledge a Samaritan woman, but this Jewish man violates all convention and is so bold as to ask her for a drink of water. In spite of hundreds of Jewish dietary and purification rules, this Jewish man is asking a Samaritan woman if he can drink from her cup. She's flabbergasted and maybe a bit offended. "How is it that you are asking me for a drink of water?" she asks. One of the literary conventions in John's Gospel is his use of metaphor and double entendre. At first, Jesus is talking literally about water. It's a hot day and he's thirsty. Then he slips into metaphor and says that he can offer the woman living water, water that will forever quench the thirst of those who drink it. At this point, some people say that the woman doesn't get it, that she doesn't know what he's talking about. "Where's your bucket?" she says. "Are you so much better than our ancestor Jacob who dug this well? Give me this water so I don't have to keep coming to the well." But I think she's onto him and understands that Jesus is playing a kind of word game. If he is playing a word game, perhaps he's referring back to Moses and the Israelites, as we heard in today's passage from Exodus. The Israelites grumble about having no water to drink. directed by the Lord to go to a certain place and strike a certain rock with the staff with which he had struck the Red Sea, Moses does what he is told, and a stream of fresh, pure water flows out of the rock at Horeb. The Israelites are saved by the mercy of the Lord. This is new water, summoned forth just for them. The wells and oases are the old water, and they may dry up or be tainted and defiled, so that they are not fit for human consumption. But this water that flows from the rock of Horeb is pure and fresh and everlasting. It promises new life to those who drink it. With this new living water, God established a covenant with the Israelite people. And we can say that another word for covenant is relationship. So Jesus is offering a new covenant with living water for all, even Samaritans. Jacob's well is the old water, and it may one day go dry or be tainted. But the living water that Jesus offers is eternal and will always give life. His living water is a metaphor for a new relationship with God. He tells her to go fetch her husband, and she replies, apparently without shame or embarrassment, that she has no husband. True, she's had 5 husbands and is now living with yet another man. Some people assume that this is a woman of loose morals who sleeps around a lot. But maybe her husbands have died, and their brothers have taken her into their households, as was the custom. Maybe her husbands have divorced her, and now she's living in the household of a male relative. A woman without a husband lives a very precarious world. She has no support, no shelter, no sustenance. She could starve or freeze to death on the streets. But this woman has prevailed. She has done what she needed to do in order to survive against the odds stacked against her. Jesus sees her for who she is and acknowledges her without judgment. By now, she's seeing Jesus in a new light. "Sir, I see you are a prophet," she says. This woman knows her history and how her people differ from the Jews. She invites him to solve one of the disputes that divide the Samaritans from the Jews. Where is God? On Mount Gerizim, the holiest Samaritan place, or in the Jewish temple in Jerusalem? Of course, in the covenant of living water, it doesn't matter where you worship. The hour is coming, says Jesus, when we will recognize that God is with us in spirit and in truth, wherever we may be. She tells him that she believes in the Messiah, and she believes the world will be a better place when the Messiah comes. He will proclaim all things to us. He will dissolve the separation between Samaritans and Jews. And then, out of the blue, Jesus declares to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." This might be one of the most remarkable passages in all of the Gospels. Nowhere else in the Gospels does Jesus acknowledge so directly and so openly that he is indeed the Messiah, the chosen one, the Christ. In John's narrative, he hasn't told his disciples, hadn't said it out loud to anyone till now, but to this woman, this Samaritan woman, Jesus confesses out loud, "I am he." Just a while ago at a wedding in Cana, he told his mother that his time had not yet come. Yet now at a well in the hostile land of the Samaritans, he declares to an anonymous woman, "I am he, the Messiah." In chapter 1, verse 1 of his gospel, John writes that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. and then the Word became flesh and lived among us. When Moses encounters God at the burning bush and is given his mission to free the Israelites from bondage in Egypt, we remember that Moses asked, "Who shall I say sent me?" And God responds, "I am who I am." We hear the echo when Jesus is at the well, "I am he." And the message is not lost on us. This is the Word, and the Word lives among us. The Samaritan woman rushes back to her neighborhood. "He has told me all about myself. Can he be the Messiah?" Because of her testimony, other Samaritans come to the well to meet this stranger in their village. They end up asking Jesus to hang around, and he does for a couple of days. She has become an early evangelist, and she sets an example that the rest of us could follow. Jesus gave her 3 commands at the well when he told her to get her husband: go, call, and come back. That is the mission of the evangelist. Go out into the world, call your neighbors to join you, and come back with them. The big question is, why does Jesus reveal his identity to this woman at this time? Of all places and of all people, why here? Why now? The truth is, God alone knows. The writer John, we can assume, had a very good reason for constructing the narrative in the way he did. We can imagine him at his table, his candle burning low, as he writes, crosses out, and writes again to get this story exactly right. Jesus keeps his true identity even from his disciples, but he freely volunteers it to this most unlikely of people. Unlikely until we consider the call of what we have come to know as Christianity. The life-giving relationship with the living God through Jesus the Christ is a call of reconciliation and acceptance, a call to recognize and celebrate the dignity of every human being, wherever and whoever they may be. It was a radical idea in the first century Palestine, and it is still a radical idea today. Jesus shames us with the false and harmful barriers we erect between classes, genders, religions, nationalities, and cultures that keep us separated from each other. We fabricate elaborate reasons to feel superior to others and to exclude our neighbors from the bounties that we enjoy. We argue over who should get the living water, when the absolute truth is that it is freely offered to us all, even if we are a humble Samaritan woman who has come alone to draw water at a well. Amen.